You're listening to the Cantina Cast, your home for thought-provoking Star Wars talk. Join Albert and Jonesy in breaking down the latest news, trailers, movies, and of course, your favorite characters from a galaxy far, far away.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Cantina Cast. My name is Albert Padilla, and this is episode 379, Rescue on Ryloth. I almost forgot the name of the title. We are back to cover part 2 of last week's, I guess I wouldn't say underwhelming, but I know we were kind of critical of where it was and kind of explained why last week's episode seemed a bit slower, maybe didn't have as much of the Bad Batch. I think a lot of the fears, at least that I had, or any anticipation and anxiety that I have had about last week's episode seemed to have been washed away in this week. So, but that's just my opinion. Let's get the opinion of someone else, and that's Jonesy. Jonesy, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm doing well, man. Man, for those listening now and on the live stream with us, Albert is powering through it tonight like a true champion of Star Wars.
I need to back the tank. I'm like really under the weather, and I was thinking about redoing like their scheduling, but I thought, you know what, the show must go on. We need to talk about Ryloth.
So if Albert goes quiet, don't worry. He's just passed out.
Yep.
He's going to be fine. He's going to be probably going to be fine.
Yeah, everything's going to be fine.
No, yeah, man. Once again, plenty of rain around these parts, so it's been a little bit crazy around here, down in Houston again. And oh man, but I'm with you, man. This was a great follow-up episode from the first one, where the first one really set up everything we had, and then we really got a good delivery, I think, this week. So really excited to talk about this one.
Yep, and a possibility, I think, of more to come with some of the characters, the threads, you know.
Absolutely. It definitely resolved in a different way than we thought originally with that first episode. And we'll get into it here in a minute. But
yeah.
Did you see the news today, though, with Mark Hamill?
No, I've been out of pocket most of today. What's going on with him?
So Mark Hamill won an Emmy for a children's show. He did a voiceover for, I believe, the character's Vuli on Elena of Avalon and on the Disney Channel. And he won an Emmy for that. So congratulations to our very own Mark Hamill. Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen that show, believe it or not.
Elena of Avalor, I think is what it's called. Yeah. Yeah. I saw it a few times a few years ago, but when it first came out, but it's a good kids show. And I mean, most of the Disney shows tend to be, but pretty exciting though. He got a daytime Emmy for that, or children's Emmy, whatever they call it.
Yep.
But definitely Academy Awards, fantastic. It's pretty selective few get that.
That's very true. And as much as he does so much voice work and he's so good at all of that, his real life acting is not bad either. He was in that movie about the kid that was underground with the teddy bear. It was like the Teddy Ruxpin. It was an indie film.
Mm-hmm.
Have you? I don't know if you're talking. I can't remember.
I know the one you're talking about,
Mr. Brigsby or something like that.
Yeah,
and he was like the dad. I thought he did really good in that, which was really nice to see, because we really didn't get to see a lot of him in the sequel trilogy. Obviously, he had his moments. I think when he was in Last Jedi, some of those were like some of his best moments ever. But he's, I think, in my opinion, and of course I am biased, I think he's a very underrated, on-screen actor as well.
I agree. I mean, it's unfortunate because when people, this is one of the problems with being part of a gigantic movie franchise, is you are instantly recognizable as this character, and so many people are afraid of being typecast. And it's so amazing that he was able to reinvent himself just from his voice, to where you wouldn't have any idea, that it was Mark Hamill half the time.
Yeah.
And so, and that he's able to do it in such a variety of ways. And of course, we're about to get him in a huge way here coming up soon with, oh my goodness, I'm drawing a total blank. What's he doing the voiceover for here soon? Oh, Skeletor for He-Man, Masters Universe. Right. Goodness gracious, and do a whole show about it here pretty soon. So really excited to see what he does with that one, because he's perfect for it.
Yep.
Anyway, so congratulations, Mark Hamill. We know you listen. Appreciate the support.
Yeah. Hey, we have the same birthday, so he does keep in touch from time to time.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Hey, did he sign up for Patreon yet? Hey, Mark, patreon.com/thecantinacast. We appreciate your support.
We'll take the dollar level. That's fine.
That's right. Dollar level's totally cool.
Totally
Just
cool.
want to put your name on screen for you.
I think beyond that, speaking of Patreon, our buddy Terrence, who's been a long supporter of not only this show, but The Basement, the network in general, I think other shows as well. T-Flu, yeah. He bumped his up from 2 to 5, so he went to the green milk. So hopefully he's
appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much. Hopefully you enjoyed the 2 $5 content pieces we did. I did start writing my second one about halfway through it, and then the longer part of the process is up after that, which is recording and putting together all the videos. So
Yeah. And second issue, War of the Bounty Hunters came out. So start looking at that too and start to see where that's taken Kira and Boba Fett and all of our new friends over at Crimson Dawn and the Hutts, of course. So
Oh,
a
really?
lot of stuff going on right now.
I'm excited
And
to
of
learn
course,
more about those guys, honestly.
yeah. I mean, and then of course, people are now digesting and getting Rising Storm and getting through it and starting to recognize the implications of everything we're seeing. And it's going to be so exciting for us to kind of move from Bad Batch and get right back into High Republic and see where that's taken us. And especially with you doing the comics and some of the other things going on with that series, and then jump in with Rising Storm is going to be fantastic. That's going to be amazing.
Yeah, we're getting close to having. We need to do Rising Storm. We're going to do much like we did Light of the Jedi, and
So take us to the end of the year. It's going to be great.
Well, I mean, it's like 400 pages long, so
450, man.
yeah,
That was a long book.
It was a long book.
But you didn't even know it was a long book. That was the crazy part.
Yeah, no, it just keeps rolling, and it's literally a turn pager. You know what I mean? Like every book's a turn pager, literally. But
this was a page turner.
This was a page turner, exactly. Like you really were excited to turn the next page and get slapped in the face and beat down by Kevin Scott and all his brutality.
Right. It's one of those books, man. You're like, how could it get any faster paced and any more intense? And then it just finds a way, and it just does. And I know we've been saying this for weeks now, right? But
yeah.
Oh my goodness. If you have not bought it, and people are chiming in with the audiobook too, which Mark Thompson does. And I will say this, Markion Rowe's voice in the audiobook is very different than what I expected. He sounds very young in that book. So it was very, very different than what I had expected Markion Rowe to sound like. But I'm hearing fantastic reviews of the audiobook. I've heard a little bit of myself. I know Steph listened to it. And so it's go out there and pick that up if you're not really into the reading thing, or if you're in the car a lot and you commute or drive around,
don't have the time to do it,
or if you travel. Yeah. Anyway,
all right.
What else? Do we have any other news?
I have no idea.
I'm quiet this week. You have no idea. Okay, welcome back, Albert.
Yep, thank you.
Welcome back to Civilization.
I'll be here all week. I don't think so. I mean, usually we get kind of a breaking news type stuff, but no, I really don't know there's anything else. All right, let's get into the show because I really want to talk about this. And just so that you guys know, our Patreon episode this week will be about Hauser. We're going to get into Hauser a little bit more than we will just on this show, or at least, in the general discussion. And a little.
Tell them the title. Tell them the title.
Was it Hauser going?
Hauser doing?
Or Hauser doing? Was it doing or going?
Doing. Oh, well, I don't know now.
I think it was going.
I hope the card I made makes sense.
I gotta look at that. Whatever it is, it's a terrible, terrible pun. But it's Hauser going. That's what it is.
Hauser going. There we go. Okay, I did get it right.
Yeah, Hauser going.
Fantastic. We are aligned.
Yeah, sorry. But yeah, that's the title of the Patreon episode because I mean that's about as cheesy as it can get. And but we are going to get into Hauser, get into his mind a little bit, talk about him. What was he affected? Was he not? Does it wear off? Does it not? That scene with his troops, his squad there at the very end. We'll talk a little bit about Order 66 and whether or not our perceptions have changed any at all around that in terms of how it works. I know we had some initial dialogue when this season kicked off because we got to see it from a different lens with Kanan, and kind of want to get an update from you there. But that'll be on the Patreon. So that's for anybody that's got the was it $2?
Yeah,
$2. $2. So, but all right, let's get back to the main show. So, give me your overall opening thoughts, real quick. I know it's kind of a two-parter, so it's sometimes it's hard to. There's really not a lot to weigh in because we're going to take care of it as we continue the dialogue. But what did you think about this episode?
Yeah, like I said, kind of leading in. This was the second half of it that really delivered on all the buildup that we got in the first one, where it seemed like it was really not a Bad Batch. It made sense, right? With them coming in, and we knew that they were going to have to come back in and do some sort of rescue, but it was a little bit different than what we expected. And I think at the end of the day, I think this really was a strong episode. I like that Hera got her moment in the sun. Again, none of it super surprising, and some really comical moments of like how bad the Imperials are at defending a base. But it was just a really entertaining episode. And the stuff with Hauser, and you put this in some of the notes, just what was going on in the background scenes. And Bad Batch has been so good at this pretty much all season. But the what was going on in the background, the facial expressions in the background, the reactions of characters not in the center of the frame, which has just been really, really good and really solid and really expressive. And that just continued with this episode. And again, we kind of got back to we really got back to basics, I think, with this episode. The things that we liked about it so early on, Hunter and Omega and the crew, and that relationship came back to the forefront in spades in this episode as well. And I think those are the things that made this series really strong to begin with. And I was really glad that we picked right back up on that. And then we ended on such a intense note with Crosshair too. And
Yeah.
it's just gonna be super exciting. We're just taking off from right now for the rest of the season. It's gonna be breakneck potentially.
Yeah, I would agree. I enjoyed this episode a lot. It's unfortunate sometimes these things have to be broken up. Yeah, I'd question whether or not it needed to it all in. I mean, they've done the 1 hour episode at the very beginning, but it's not unusual, not uncommon. This is not unprecedented. So, but it
Right.
would have been nicer to see it all as one continuous episode. But I like this. Sometimes I enjoy this because we get to dissect 30 minutes of it or 28 minutes of it and do a show on it and really get down into it, where had they done it in 1 hour, it probably wouldn't have been as thorough as part of our dialogue. But
Exactly.
I mean, overall though, you're right, it had some great moments in here. Where I saw last one was kind of focused on Hera, maybe a little bit more focused on Crosshair, and this one was kind of more balanced. I think there was enough
Mm.
screen time and enough lines, enough impactful moments for everybody, Chopper included, who was right in form, as we would see later on in Rebels. So we'll talk about him in just a
Right.
bit. But yeah, overall, I thought it was a great episode. It was a great way to kind of end that first one. And with four episodes left, I mean, I'm really scratching my head now about what else there is left to do. Where are we going to go, and how much of what we've seen here is going to play into that? Because there's a lot of stuff. I mean, we've thrown a lot of things out there about, hey, this could come back, this could come back, this could come back, and there's so many threads, so many lines out now. I don't know that I don't think they're all coming back in, right? This is probably, unless they've got some magical storyline that's going to pull all these together. I think there's just a lot of things that were kind of dropped in here, world building that happened, and Filoni's going to pick this up in season 2 potentially, or down the road in Book of Boba, or any one of his many shows that he's done. Resistance 2. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, I mean, I think he's going to he's going to have to pick some of these up down the road, because there's no way they're going to wrap this up in 4 episodes unless these are 1 hour each. So
Yeah. A lot of hanging chads, so to speak.
yep. Yeah, you're old.
Getting political up in this.
Well, nobody remembers hanging chads because it's all electronic now. But okay, let's. So this one opens up on Ryloth. We're back in the prison cells, and this is where you get Hauser kind of overlooking everybody, and they're kind of looking at him as a traitor right now, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it's in their eyes, it's essentially what he's done. And I had a note here about watching Hauser's reaction as they're talking. I mean, he looks like. And this is part of the dialogue we'll have a little bit later, but he's not, in my opinion, he's not a clone trooper that was impacted by Order 66. He's got more humanistic facial expressions. This is really getting at him. We've seen it all through the first episode. We saw a continuation of it in this episode, but this is really, hitting, killing him and beating at his heart here of what's going on, right? Both the being considered a traitor by them, then also having, conflicted feelings about, wait a second, what are these guys doing? They've just framed him. I mean, he's got to be in a lot of different directions right now, trying to understand which side am I supposed to be on? Where's my allegiance? What's right? What's wrong? And you can see that all in his facial expressions throughout this entire opening scene here.
You really can. I mean, you almost feel bad for him, because that he's really stuck in a tough spot. He knows where his duty is supposed to be. He knows where his loyalty is supposed to be. But it's really with Cham Syndulla and Eleni Syndulla and Hera and the family and the citizens of Ryloth almost. I mean, and he really says it well, later on in the episode, but you could just see the anguish on his face that this is really hurting him severely, to sit on the other side of the cell and watch his friends and the people that he respected and fought with and presumably saw people die, and just, you know, you just felt for him, and you could just feel every word that Rampart said to these folks, especially when they start bringing Hera into it.
Mm-hmm.
You just see, I mean, he perks up a little bit and his head turns, and you can just see that he's just like, man, this is just not right.
Yeah, they like
And
flinch when they mention Hera's name. Like, whoa, wait a second. You're crossing the line here at this point.
oh, absolutely. I mean, Rampart's doing it intentionally, right? He's stoking, he's needling and prodding just to try to get some sort of reaction so they can get this. And these idle threats, of it's a big place, it's really dangerous out there. Just I can't do anything, for her if you know she's just this basically just this little kid alone and scared, and bad things happen to little kids when they're scared and in the open. I mean, it's just
Yeah.
and poor
Sure
Hauser,
would be
he's
a
just
shame if something happened to your daughter. I mean, that's what it
I
was
mean, it's
coming
just the
across as.
lowest. Yeah, it's just the lowest, and Cham and his wife are just completely helpless to do anything. Yeah, and Gobi Glee, of course, is there too. But and you can just see when they glare Hauser down as they walk off, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you could tell that Hauser wants to say something, but I mean, what do you say? I mean, I mean, what happened, and then he talks about it a little bit later on too. But
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah, he's definitely got a look of disgrace, a look of shame, but again, at this point, you got to cut him some slack. I mean, he's caught in between a lot of different worlds here. The whole world's changing literally right in front of his eyes, and he's just not really sure what to do. So, or what the right
right,
decisions are. He's trying to make the right decisions, but it doesn't seem like it's going that way.
right.
I did have a question for you because Rampart is immediately going after Hera, and I mean, I get from this perspective of he's going after Hera because he wants leverage with Cham and Eleni, right?
Mhm.
Having her daughter, their daughter captured would probably be a way to say, hey, they could he could extort them for whatever he wanted. But it almost felt like he was threatened by Hera. Do you think he saw any threat in her because of her rebellious ways, or because she had a line with Glee or anybody else?
I think at this age, probably not. And the reason why I say that is because we see later in this episode where he completely underestimates the Bad Batch, Rampart,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so that he would put any stock into a girl, even though she was, spying on the Imperial refinery and things like that. I don't think he really puts much stock into it. I think he is very much she is the tool to break the spirit of the Syndulas and then break the spirit of the planet of the people of Ryloth. And I think that is her, in his view, I think her sole purpose and her sole value is to control the Syndulas so he can control and bring the planet into line because he's going to have, I mean, Hauser calls him out on this throughout the episode. You
Yeah.
are going to have a really hard time bringing these people. They're going to rebel at some point,
Right.
or I forgot what the exact words he used, a revolt or an uprising. And I think if they have her, then the Sedulas can help prevent that and keep everyone in line.
Yeah. So from there we go to I think a scene that this is really where Hauser starts making some very clear decisions about what side he's going to be on because he's Rampart's telling him, hey, we need to round up all these sympathizers, and he immediately pushes back and he's like, hey, these guys are not
They're not insurgents.
they're not insurgents. These are just normal citizens, and they just because they're affiliated doesn't give them any reason to go round them up like prisoners. And then to even further, Rampart starts pushing that lie about, hey, you know, that they attacked the Syndulas shot Senator Ta, and he immediately puts his foot down. He's like, no, that's. I mean, I'm probably paraphrasing, but he's like, I was there. That blast didn't come from Cham or his fighters. Was somebody completely different. And it was in that moment that Rampart hits him with the, hey, leave the thinking to me, boy, kind of thing. And you can just see it there at that point. He was just kind of like, all right, this is not right. And I think at this point, he was just kind of starting to think about, okay, now what do I do how do I exit out of here? How do I, what about my squad? What about the Syndulas? What about everybody else that I've, sworn to protect? He's in a really precarious position at this point, but you could see it again. Kudos to the graphic design team and the art animators, because you could see on his face just the thinking that was going into a lot of that at that moment.
Right. And Rampart he goes in on him. Well, tell me, Captain, like, who did take the shot?
Yeah.
Who did do it? And you could see, he instantly had that retreating, type of facial expression, but also just a slight body movement. And he's like, well, I don't know. Cause he didn't see, he looked, but I don't know. I guess we don't know that he saw who took it, that, Crosshair was the one that shot. But it was another hesitance of, okay, how far, like you were saying, how far do I push this? Do I really want to? He's still my commanding officer, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he tells him, so Hauser wants to go and chase Hera down, or to find Hera, presumably to keep her safe, right? It's kind of the impression that we're given. The Rampart's like, nope, we've already got a squad working on that. You're going to round up everybody, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so Hauser's already, trying to find other ways to help the Syndulla family in whatever way he actually can. But at the end of the day, and this is where I actually had the question for you was, when Rampart gives him the final order and he stands up straight and says, yes, sir. The first thing that popped in my head was good soldiers follow orders. But was it that, or was it? I mean, because you just said a minute ago that pretty clear that Order 66 either no longer has an effect or never affected him in the first place. So was this just him being a good soldier in general, not programming, but just a good soldier in general? Of, okay, respect my commanding officer and do as I'm ordered to do, or was it something else?
Yeah, I think it was something else. I mean, I think at this point he knew he needed to exit. Like I said, he needed to figure out a way to get everybody safe. He immediately, like you said, jumped in, said, "Hey, I'll take care of Hera." And Rampart, thankfully, like I give the Empire a bunch of crap half the time, and characters in Star Wars because they make some really bad, illogical decisions. For example, that whole Nala Se and Lama Su, hey, you're the person that's protecting her. Why don't you go take care of, when she gets here and kill her? Like that makes no sense whatsoever, right? This makes more sense.
Right.
Take him out. If you feel like he's a threat, you feel like he's not somebody that could be trusted. And I think that's what Hauser's picking up. It's like, okay, I've already been undermined here by somebody else. He probably doesn't trust me. I don't want to push this any further. So I'm just going to fall in line. I'm going to say what I need to say. But in my mind, at least for Hauser, he's already thinking, 3 steps ahead about, okay, so I don't have this. What do I have? What else can I do at this point? So he's just trying to diffuse a situation that is starting to kind of elevate. And because I'm sure, I mean, we saw at the very beginning, I mean, who did Cham call up when they're trying to win over the people, right? He calls up Hauser, right?
Hauser,
So in his mind, Rampart's mind at least, and Hauser probably knows that Rampart knows this as well. That is somebody that he sees very aligned with Cham, probably a sympathizer in some way. Maybe he is. I mean, we don't know if Rampart knows about Order 66 or, truly where his elite or where if he thinks that Hauser's allegiance is with the Empire or not. But I would be pretty cautious of this guy as well. So,
I was curious though too, Albert, was that Hauser keeps using Cham, not Cham Syndulla, not the general, not General Syndulla, but he just calls him Cham to Rampart.
Yeah.
I mean, Rampart's got to catch. He's got to catch on to this, right?
Right.
Like, why would you be calling him by his first name? Like, you are. It's like it's kind of like Lamasu. You are too close to this thing for your own good. But Rampart, I don't think even respects him enough to really say. I mean, we know Rampart's not really in favor of the clones anyway. But it's almost like Rampart doesn't really think he'll step out of line though either.
Mm-hmm.
That he will be obedient. He will, follow orders and doesn't think twice about Hauser too much. Although we've seen suggestions otherwise, including the last episode we talked about quite a bit. But yeah, it is interesting that he still keeps using the word Cham rather than covering his tracks, and you can tell his emotions are definitely running high and getting to him a bit.
Yeah,
Hauser, that is.
Yeah, Hauser. Yeah, I mean, you would think he'd call him. He called him General at one point. I think later on in the episode, he called him General.
Right at the very end. Yeah.
But you would think, yeah, right. Like I would have, if I was trying to put this facade up, I'd be saying General Syndulla or addressing him in different ways.
Right.
We get a really quick scene here back at the Syndulla home. This is where Chopper and Hera are kind of looking out, and they realize that Crosshair, they've head over to the Syndulla base, and so this is the force that is out there actively looking for Hera. At this point, she realizes, okay, we can't go there, and so at that point, they decide they're going to head out, and they're going to need help, and so they end up going to an abandoned base. And I have not had a chance this weekend. I really wanted to go back and watch some of the episodes to see if they were any of the same locations from the Clone Wars. If someone knows, let us know. But I couldn't remember if that was the actual base that they'd used there, and they were just making a reference to it. But because they did that a lot in Rebels.
Yeah, wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah. But then we flip back over to the Havoc Marauder, and like the funny thing about Gonky is he's a gonk droid. But even funnier is the fact that he doesn't work. Like he's like, what is he around? He's just like a glorified, dead weight lift for Wrecker, and that's all they have him around for. I don't understand what his purpose is, but I thought I just chuckled when they said that he was defective too.
Like the ship pet.
Yeah, right. Yeah, he's got
Chip mascot.
blind. It's like that dog. It's just blind in two eyes, can't hear. You probably should
He's
put
your
it down, but man,
favorite thing in
that's
the
your
world.
favorite buddy. You cannot put that droid down. So, but yeah, he's just kind of around there, and Omega's taken upon herself to try to fix him. But she does make that comment about, hey, he's defective just like us, which I thought was interesting because it is. I mean, the Clone Force 99 has always been seen as the bad batch, a defective batch. But I don't know, with Omega, do you think she sees herself that way? I can't see why she would, though.
I think she's just associated herself with the squad, and she's just the persona that she's taken on. That we're the outcasts, we're the outlaws, right? So it's a time where she's finally kind of accepted her. She's accepted the squad long before they accepted her, right? But it's just she feels it now, and I think she embraces it. I think she would rather be imperfect than have to be perfect anyway. I mean, who wouldn't want to be seen as imperfect, so
Right.
you're not held up to the standard of being perfect all the time? And she's a kid. I say that there's a lot of people who want to be perfect and be viewed as perfect, so I know that that's silly.
Yeah.
But
so at this point, we get the incoming transmission. Everybody's freaking out because they're like, wait a minute, how's this? Who is this? How's this even happening? And we learn that this is where Hera says that, she kind of explains, hey, my parents have been captured and I need your help. Very, typical Star Wars distress call. You're my only hope kind of thing.
very much an only hope kind of thing.
Yeah, it was. But it was cool here. I enjoyed this because there was that whole line that Tech gave about children overreacting.
Mm-hmm.
And he's not wrong because children do overreact a lot. But yeah, I mean, we learned that, I guess when they were in the ship at some point off camera or off scene, they exchanged phone numbers, cell numbers, and said, hey, call me girl if you need anything, whatever. And so she does, which is very convenient, but makes sense. And there was that whole lot that it kind of ends about, they seem like they were really pushing back on like, this is really not our war. And this is a theme that happens really throughout this whole episode, if you think about it, because they just dropped these supplies off in the first episode and they're like, well, peace out, good luck to you kind of thing. They're not interested in it. They've got this opportunity here. There's another one a little bit later once they've scoped out the place and Hunter's still trying to turn away. And of all people, it's Elena who makes the comment about, hey, whether the war is going to come to you at some point. And that's not uncommon. We've seen that in, I don't know how many, like throughout the Clone Wars, we saw that, and throughout the Rebel Alliance, it's just a reoccurring theme. But Omega's take on this is that they are soldiers, and because they're soldiers, she says, isn't it our duty? Isn't it your duty to put your neck on the line anytime somebody's in trouble?
Right. Yeah. Hunter's kind of bringing it back. Like we did this every time. If every time someone asks for help and we put our neck on the line, basically you're dead. We can't do that. We don't do it. And she throws it back in his face. That's what soldiers do. This is your whole, what you are bred to do in this case. This is their sole purpose for being in existence, was to put their neck on the line for people they didn't know and didn't ask for help, but were going to receive it anyway. And some did ask for help, but I mean, so many situations I'm sure they didn't, and they were there, maybe not where some people would prefer them, but we saw some pushback from some of them in the Clone Wars.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's very much Omega keeps kind of pulling at the strings or hitting with the low blows on Hunter here a little bit this episode.
Then head over to the base, so they're already there, and Hera explains that the Bad Batch that they're after Cham because of her father, and I forget who was it that had heard of him, and they called him the Freedom Fighter.
Yeah, Tech did.
Is that Tech?
Goggles? Yep.
Goggles. Yeah. So I mean, he's got a reputation, as he should, given his kind of importance in the Clone Wars itself, and I mean, he was kind of like the sole main person that was running everything, the general in charge of Ryloth there for a while.
Right.
And this is where I guess Hera's, kind of asking her to please do that. We need to go to the capital. She's immediately on board. Like, yep, this is what we're going to do. And Hunter's like, no, this is not what we're going to do. And he finally kind of gives in, but he just says no guarantees, which he does say a little bit later as well. Like, because he knows, I mean, at least in his mind right now, hey, we're trying to pay off our debt. We're trying to stay safe. The last thing we want to do is get mixed up in the middle of a war. And, they're going to do a solid for Omega because kind of going back to Common Ground, right? That whole episode there about now she's part of the squad. And, and there was a part of me also too in this episode where, remember that in Common Ground where Sid says, hey, if you don't, stop whining about it, start taking action about it. I think we saw that here with Omega at least one or two times. Like she seemed a little bit more forward, a little bit more. She had a lot more initiative in just saying, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. I think you saw that a lot during the attack on the refinery, and her like ability to call an audible and say, we're going to do it this way without really going back to the group. I mean, I know it seems subtle and it's small, minor, maybe it wasn't as impactful, but I do feel like that line from Sid, I think there was enough there that pushed her, at least in this episode, and we're kind of seeing some of that now.
Yeah, and what was interesting was that Hera, when Hera's asking and pleading for help, there's just this silence, and so Omega views this as her opportunity. She walks up to her and nods like, we're the people for the job, and I'm just like, nope, that wasn't what that silence was all about at all.
Mm-hmm.
This makes no sense for us to do this. It's basically a suicide mission. They know that everything is guarded, but and Omega again, blow the belt shot. It's what she would do for them and what she would do for him. And she helps Hera understand a little bit about that relationship as well. But that these guys are in. Hera doesn't know exactly what she's getting into or what she's asking them to get into. She just wants her family. And we've seen this type of behaviors over and over before in Star Wars, but it was Omega had to be the one to tell Hunter that this is what family means. And I would do the exact same thing for you guys as what she's asking us to do for her and what she's willing to do for her family.
Yep. We get Rampart speech right after this, and it's like the whole dynamic. If you go back and watch that speech versus the first one, I mean, totally different. I mean, you've got stormtroopers, up and down the aisles. It's very, there's a very heavy military presence now. The probe droids are there. It's very, there's like a lot of propaganda in this, right? The life on Oran Free-Taw, he's living, he's going to live, which I guess he does live in this episode, or he lives throughout it. I don't know.
We don't have any evidence.
We don't have any evidence of it. That's true. I
love that though. Your beloved senator.
Yeah, nobody loves that guy.
They hate the guy, right?
So, but yeah, it was a very different feel to the speech as opposed to the ones in the last episode.
It was so patronizing.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, but that's what the Empire does, right? That's what they're really good at. So, I think it's Omega that spots Crosshair, and they realize, okay, this is we need to get out of here, right? This is not what we need to be doing. Texas, it does look like a military occupation, and he's not liking the idea of a rescue mission, although Wrecker is. I mean, he seems to be all in on this kind of stuff here.
Hey, jump in and blow things up.
Yep.
That's his MO.
And then kind of the last nail in the coffin for them, at least for Hunter to be like, nope, we're out, is, he hears that probe droid. I guess he can feel like electromagnetic waves, right? That's kind of his special ability. And so he knows that probe droid's up there, goes up there, takes it out. And it was very, that's a good bet the Empire knows we're here. I mean, it was just essentially that scene all over again. And so they get back to the base, and this is where we kind of already talked about this, but this is where Hunter's like, hey, we don't need to be a part of this.
Right. Yeah. And this is where, this is interesting though, because Omega comes to them and says, basically, why does Hera ask, why do you put so much faith in them? Why do you trust them so much? Because Omega's trying to get her to trust Hunter, and that Hunter will come around. And she's like, and this is really interesting. I thought about you when she said this, like, well, he's my brother. They're all my brothers. And it was interesting. She called him her brother. I know that's technically what they are, but it was interesting. It was brother instead of something else, and she didn't really hesitate on that. How did that make you feel when she said brother instead of father or something like that?
Oh, well, in my head, at least in my head canon, I don't think she knows. Like, I don't think she knows that if my theory is correct, which I have no reason to believe that it's not, or is false, or whatever, true or false. If she is like the mother of them because they used her DNA to create the Bad Batch, I don't know that she would know, right? I mean, in her mind, I think she's just thinking, hey, we're all clones. We're all part of the same group. There's an Alpha. She may know about Alpha and Omega, and just consider everybody to be brothers and sisters in that regard. So I did think about it though. When she said they're my brothers, I was like, well, maybe that kind of puts a hole in it, but I'm not ready to give up just yet.
I thought maybe you crawled under your desk and like tighten a ball, rocking back and forth.
Cold sweat. What am I going to do?
I was worried you might be a little upset.
Nope. It's going to take a lot more than that to shake this little noggin here. I'm going to go down. You'll have to pry that theory out of my cold, dead hands.
Even if they tell you differently, you're
Yep.
like, nope,
Nope.
nope.
That's all a ruse. We'll find out in the Bad Batch of
I've
season
got
3.
Medea level canon going on right now.
Yes. That's P level canon.
P level.
That sounds terrible. Oh boy, where are we?
So they agree to take the job.
Yeah, they agree to take the job because she guilts him into saying, "Hey, this is what I would have done." Right. So
Right.
good on her.
Well, we did get the whole money thing. I'll pay you double, and we get the whole, what good's a reward if you're not around to use
exactly.
it.
Yeah, there were a lot of New Hope, just echoes in this episode throughout. Okay, so
Friend's a real mercenary.
What's that?
Your friend's a real mercenary.
Yeah, and they used the word mercenary in when what was it? Is it Glee that sees him?
Yeah, Glee calls them. Yeah, when they break them out.
These are the mercenaries. Okay, so Rampart and Hauser, we get this really quick scene between them, and Hauser says, "Look, some of these supporters, rounding up is not enough, right? He's trying to this isn't really working.
Some's not enough.
Yeah, and if we keep doing this is where he says, hey, we're going to get an uprising. You're going to be in over your heads. Not a good idea. And this is where he says, hey, peace has a cost, which is true. It is true in a lot of ways. I mean, that's a rebellion, right? They would probably know it better than anybody else. But yeah, and then Crosshair comes in and says, hey, Clone Force 99 is here. He tells them that you've got a battalion of clones. It's not going to be good enough. You're going to need a lot more here. We're going to need a bigger boat. And then he says he's concerned about what Crosshair is capable of, and that Rampart is questioning how effective Crosshair is now. And so Rampart's got this. He's really good about this, right? From the Empire, he's playing both people. It's almost like the Emperor, right? He's constantly putting people down and then trying to pick them up and slam them back down and pitting people against each other.
Right.
You think of like Tarkin and Thrawn and just what was happening there and how they were kind of vying for each other, vying for things. This is all very part of the Galactic Empire and kind of what they do best here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, and it was the venom that Rampart had towards Crosshair was a little surprising. I mean, Rampart getting a little fed up with Crosshair, and I guess his lack of results with what's been going on. But I mean, how does Rampart not believe him at this point, though? Of like a battalion's not going to be enough. I mean, he's seen them escape from Crosshair. I mean, he's just kind of laying it at Crosshair's feet and not giving them any credit that these people are pretty good at what they do. And Crosshair's really good at what he does too. But they're a group that's outsmarting an entire, effectively a legion of troops at times. And
it doesn't seem like it's enough.
Right. But I mean, you can definitely tell that Rampart's his patience, his tolerance maybe is wearing very, very thin when it comes to really any of the clones, because Hauser's pissing him off. Now Crosshair's pissing him off. And he's now saying, okay, well, maybe Crosshair, if you're not good enough, I'll get someone to find you. And of course, Crosshair, the only person he can look at is Hauser, and Hauser's like, I don't want it. You can have it, kind of thing.
Yep.
We were thinking that, oh man, because Hauser just kind of moves out of the way and didn't want anything to do with it either. But Crosshair is not really having it right now, and not super thrilled about his position.
Yeah, I said in the notes here that he was kind of biting both hands that feed him. Like he's taking off Crosshair, he's taking off Hauser. He's making little comments about how I wish the Bad Batch were here, or wish they would join us, kind of thing. And then,
that's
then later on, he even he admits that okay, this was too much. Right? I forget what he says, but yeah, I mean he kind of saw it all coming. So we get over back to the Ryloth base, and this is where this episode really kind of picks up and doesn't let off on the throttle. But this is where Chop and Hera are kind of talking about not giving up. Omega trusts him because he's her brother. They all are. I mean, they get this whole speech here, and this is where we get Omega and Hera kind of talking about their plan and what they're going to do. Or she says, they're going to believe you, or they'll believe you because it's strategy or it's strategic is what she says.
All I could hear in my head was strategery.
Yeah, it's making it up. But Chopper during this scene though, like he doesn't seem like he's on board with this. In fact, at the very end, once they come up with this whole idea that they're going to go out there and, Omega's pepping her up and saying, oh, nobody knows this planet like you, shades of Phantom Menace, right? Kind of thing. Chopper at the very end of it just puts his head down and shakes his head like, oh crap, I really don't want to do this kind of thing. I mean, you can almost hear him say that.
You can almost hear him say, really? A couple of times.
Yeah.
Or, oh, brother.
Yeah. Which is pretty much Chopper. We get back to the prison cells, and this is another really good scene with Cham and Hauser. And he says, so this is the side you've chosen. And that was a callback for me this season where, in the end, we all choose sides. I think it was one of the Martez sisters that had said it.
Mm-hmm.
And that, again, another reoccurring theme in this season of The Bad Batch. And then, Hauser explains that, hey, I'm trying to protect Hera just like your parents when they were attacked by the convoy. And he says, you did attack a convoy. I mean, he's not wrong. I mean, he's trying to explain to him, look, you were in this position because, yes, you may be in the right, but you did something that wasn't
what you expect.
What did you expect?
You got caught doing something you weren't supposed to do.
Yep. And Cham he guilts him and says, hey, we trusted you to protect Ryloth, and says, I'm not going to make that mistake again, which is, right. Guts him. I mean, you can see it. He's just devastated. Shoulders drop. He's looking down, not sure what to do. And again, he's just in a really bad position, and he decides to walk away. And all this starts to weigh on him. And it's really cool because it just continues to build and build and build. When he finally, at the very end, you kind of see what the result of it all is. And he's going to I'm going to do what's right. And I'm going to give myself up. And if these guys come with me, great. If not, at least I'll have a clear conscience kind of thing.
Yeah, right. And I think what really stood out, I mean, first you saw the expression from Hauser, and just like you said, this is the defeat and the shame, and he's really taking it all personally. And I think that the part that's frustrating, and I had to remind myself, is that the Syndulas and Gobi Glee haven't seen a different type of clone trooper than they have with Hauser. So they don't know how different Hauser really is compared to what many of the other clone commanders and captains and everything else.
That's a good point.
Really, really are. And I had to kind of take a step back and think about that for a minute, because they are, like, we notice it right away because we're exposed to it all the time.
Yeah.
But these guys aren't. They have no idea. And his exposure to, I mean, Crosshair is kind of his own thing anyway. Even when he was, quote unquote normal, he was still an odd one. So it was, I didn't say Bad Batch at least, but it was just a curious one. But I think without that context, though, and even still, Cham's not wrong, right? I mean, Hauser did make a choice, just like Cham and Eleni did, or Eleni,
yep,
yeah, that they did, but they're at a bit of a stalemate. And what do? I can't blame the Syndulas for not trusting him, because he could be saying things just to say them to get him to share where Hera's at, and then she just all of a sudden she's right where the Empire wants her. So you're at a standoff. Both of them want to do the right thing. They kind of want to trust Hauser, I think, but they feel betrayed and they feel hurt. Hauser feels terrible because he's hurt them, but he's still trying to do the right thing, but they won't help him do the right thing either. So he is really just in a tough spot, not sure what to do. And thankfully he does get another opportunity to prove himself.
Yep. There's another fine example next of people in Star Wars trusting small children with the fate of the galaxy.
Oh my God. Yeah. Hunter's just like, all right, you guys go do this part of the mission all on your own. And Tech, I think, was it Tech or Echo?
One of them was like,
no, it was Tech. Yeah, Tech was like, by themselves?
Yeah, which is fine. I'm glad somebody said it, because I've made this joke, at least in this season already, and I know we've made it before, but there's just another example of Star Wars characters going, sure, you're 10 and under. Why don't you go ahead and make a decision? We'll follow in on that. Sounds great.
Right. I mean, we've only been fighting this war for a better part of 10 years now.
Yeah.
But cool. This is your first mission.
And
it's going to go great.
I'm not saying anything about people don't have good ideas, it's nothing like that. It's not ageism. It's just, in the middle of war.
Oh, it sure as hell is. I mean, it's also intelligent.
It's life experiences.
Right. I mean, I get deferring to her because she knows the ins and outs and everything, but
so here's where
there's no secrecy of how they're getting into this place.
Yeah. I mean, and the plan's simple enough. I mean, the plan's effective. It seems like it'd be effective enough. I mean, it's nothing radical by any means. It's, we'll cause a distraction and you free them. So cool.
Well, and I will say this: it was clever because from an Imperial standpoint, it is exactly what the Imperials would do.
Yeah, very knee jerk. Oh, there's the fire. Let's go do it. Put it out.
Right. Whereas if you spend 5 seconds, you think about it, you're like, well, why are they attacking the refinery?
Mm-hmm.
Are they just lashing out at the refinery? Oh, stupid. It's clearly a diversion.
Well, yeah. Crosshair was the one going, hey, stupid.
Even Crosshair had to think about it for 5 minutes, though.
Yeah.
He look back and forth a little bit.
So the way I rationalized this one at least was, okay, so maybe in the game that they played in Common Ground, it was enough for Hunter to realize, wow, she really is gifted at strategy, and because she had already spoken to Hera, Hera, well, we got to give Hera credit too. I mean, this is nothing uncommon for her later on, right? This is kind of the beginning of her abilities and what she can bring to the table. So I think it was some combination thereof, and I was just kind of making a joke about it. But I'm not, right? I mean, it's kids doing stuff that extraordinary stuff, and why shouldn't they? Because this is a kids cartoon, so I'd want that to happen as well. But yeah, so easy enough. They're gonna cause the distraction. Hunter and Echo are gonna head out there, free the family and everybody there. They talked about the cannons being unmanned, and so they had that covered by Chopper, which never should have given that dude that role.
I know. Can we pause for a second and talk about poor Echo?
Yeah.
So, all right. So we're getting the mission. Hunter's giving out the responsibilities, and who's the one person you're gonna tell is gonna scale the wall with you? The guy with only one arm.
Here, put this harpoon attachment on there, this grappling hook attachment to your arm. We're going to need that.
Yeah, I didn't see what they actually did. I mean, I heard the clamps or something, but I couldn't see what they gave. Like, I don't think it was in camera, but you could see what they gave poor Echo, with his screwdriver hand. But I just laughed. I paused it. I had to sit there and laugh for a second. I was like, Echo's probably just like, what the?
Yeah, really? You got all these people to pick from.
You got all these able people, and you're going to make me scale the wall.
Yeah.
Great.
He would have been better putting, well, no. Okay, so, but that was a good point. But yeah, so Chopper's got his, that was going to go horribly wrong. I knew it was already, because anytime you put that guy in charge of something, it doesn't always go.
Chopper just talks too damn much.
Well, yeah. And he's got an attitude and. But yeah, I mean, Hunter's like, hey, I guess we'll follow your lead. Like, so like, sure. Laissez-faire about it. Like, whatever. What's the worst that can happen, right?
Right. And we're not gonna have you supervised.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be great.
It's gonna be fine. Nothing to worry about here. Really quick scene there with Hunter and Echo. We get, like you said, they're kind of scaling the wall. One's using a diversion. Yeah, it was cool because the way the camera cut that angle, it cut over and then boom, Hunter's like just there out of nowhere. Was kind of cool. You can
actually hear him on the side if you turned it up. Yeah, if you turn it up enough. But I actually laughed. I had to pause and laugh a little more because it was Echo the one asking for a little help because he only has one hand.
Mm-hmm.
So, thanks.
Little help. I got a screwdriver here. Just grab me by the handle.
I think Hunter says like hello or hey there or something like that.
Yeah, just to kind of show them go stuff. Says go gadget. Go gadget suction cup. They really should play that up more. Like, I'm really disappointed they have not given him all kinds of attachments. Who was the He-Man character?
Trapjaw.
Was it Trapjaw that had all the attachments? Mm-hmm. That's what he is. They're calling him Echo.
But we don't want to make fun of people with disabilities. So.
No, he doesn't have a disability. He's just got it. He's missing.
I'm pretty sure we'd call that a disability in our world.
Oh, well, I'm talking about Trapjaw. Not you're talking about no.
Well,
I'm talking about Trapjaw.
Have a jaw. Is that yeah? Anyway, let's move on.
I just wish they would give him more things to do with that arm instead of a screwdriver.
Oh, I thought you were thinking they would give him a hard time.
No. I said I wish they would give him more attachments. Like there's a missed like a toy opportunity here. Like a
I'm with you.
You know what I mean? Like a lightsaber attachment or a grappling hook, or I mean, there's plenty of stuff. All right. Back at the refinery. This is where Chopper's whole plan is to infiltrate the base. He jumps in line with those R2 units or the other astromech droids or whatever they were. He jets over the little barrier, which is cute. And then I don't understand
the barrier. This is the most secure place on the planet, right?
Yeah.
And they've got these nice gaps in the side that clearly you can just kind of really walk through.
Yeah, those cinder blocks are kind of expensive though. And they're all about money, the Empire right now.
Oh, I forgot about that. You're right.
But he jumps over that one. And the part that just got me was the way he goes up to that poor little RT unit and just zaps him and then just shoves him out of the way. And I was like, oh, that's so perfect. That's so Chopper for him to do that. So,
well, then he can't even do the job. What do you mean you can't do it?
Yeah. I could have sworn he said, I almost think he said, I in my mind, he said, I told you I couldn't do this, but he went ahead and tried it anyways. So yeah. And then, this is where the girls decide they're going to change it up. And I thought kudos to Omega, like she never gave it, told anybody, never cried for help, never told anyone. Things weren't going as planned. She just took it upon herself to say, okay, let's improvise. What can we do? Hey, you want to fly? Look at that. Let's take that and let's go blow the turrets up, which I thought was really great of her. So this is a really good moment for Omega and for Hera too.
Right.
From that regard.
We just don't want to, let's not ask too many questions about how they got onto the facility though.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. So
Dale, Chopper's kill count was upward of 30K. He's just getting started.
Yeah.
He's racking up the XP.
Yep.
Double bonus if you just stun everybody.
Yeah. He's all about stuns. There was another great line in here too. This whole scene was really good. They take out the turrets and then they say, after when they got in the ship, blew the control thing, whatever it was for the turrets. Mm-hmm. And then, she says, Wrecker, do your thing. He's like, oh, right. He got to blow up what he wanted to blow up because that's what he does. He likes blowing things up. And then this whole line here, again, Tech, solid. We're getting the hang of this. He says, yes, your dangerous and uncontrolled maneuvering is as confusing to them as it is to us, which is perfect. Like, I was dying when he said that.
I love Tech. Can I just tell you how much I love this guy?
Yeah.
He's the comedian of the group. I didn't even realize it for several episodes. And now he's comic gold.
Yeah. He's, like I said, he's like Sheldon, a lot like Sheldon.
Oh, it's so perfect.
Just calling it like it is. But yeah, I wish they would have played that up more, where you could just see his facial expressions, watching them like, randomly and, just flying around, uncontrollably flying around as she's trying to get the hang of it all.
I will give Tech some props though for his flying skills. He jetted in there and was like in a hard turn, like letting Wrecker just kind of spread and spray as the tail. It's pretty slick.
Yep. All right, we're getting to the heavy stuff here now. It says, reinforcements they're heading out to the refinery. This is where Crosshair's like, hold on, wait a second. This doesn't seem right.
What's the real target here?
Yeah. And there's a moment there where they, you can see Crosshair's down there on the airfield, kind of looking around. And then way out there is Hauser, and he's kind of looking down as well. In the audio description, it says that they looked at each other. They noticed each other. Yeah. But when you watch the video, like when you see it, Crosshair doesn't look up. Hauser's looking down at him, but Crosshair doesn't look up. But so I don't know if it was, again, sometimes it doesn't always line up, and sometimes it's because the script changes and whatever else. But it was interesting. I thought that would have been a pretty cool moment if if they had just spotted each other from that far away. But yeah, and so we immediately cut over to Crosshair. He's already taken up a position across from the main door there. He knows they're going to have to come out from the cells. They're going to have to come out from the prison. They're going to have to come out that middle door there. And this is where all of the clone troopers start arriving with like their riot shields and kind of lining up. It was a really cool moment. I can't remember if they've used those before.
I don't know. Those look like they were straight out of the Ralph McQuarrie original drawing of the stormtroopers, right? Where they had the lightsaber shields and a big shield. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. It was pretty neat. I don't remember if we've seen them before either, but I was glad to see that. I'm glad they came through. They had really great sound effects too with it. You could really feel the heft of it.
Yeah. And just as Cham and everybody's about to go out the doors, Hauser stops him and says, "Hey,
don't shoot."
Right. You're walking into a trap. It was kind of like Leia, Empire Strikes Back. But the trap.
You mean like Akbar?
No, well, it was Akbar, but I was thinking about an Empire. She's like, Luke.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. And this is where I think it was Glee. Was it Gobi Glee or was it Cham that says why they should trust? They were questioning why they should trust him at this point.
I think it was Glee.
I think it was Glee. But Hauser says, "Hey, I'm on your side," and he says it like fine, like plain as day. What the Empire is doing is wrong, right? I mean, he's been sitting with this now for a few hours, and I believe him. I mean, it was very clear early on, but he's letting them know, look, hey, I get it, right? This is not right. I know I made some really crappy decisions here, but this is, I'm with you guys at this point. And it's Alenia who actually believes him. And because she's like, okay, then let's go take Taw's shuttle out in the
private room.
Sure.
Tower.
And then Hauser apologizes to Cham for not doing something sooner. And I think Cham accepts his apology because he doesn't say, hey, apology accepted.
Yes, but puts a hand on his shoulder. I mean, Hauser's obviously distressed by it all, and
Mm-hmm.
he was very accepting. He's like, "The fight's not over for Ryloth.
So we will
it's gonna be
return.
things will turn. We'll do it." And Eleni, very concerned about how she says, they're gonna know you helped us get out of this. And Hauser, to his credit, I was really surprised by this, and I had a really strong sense of foreboding about what was about to happen to perhaps our new favorite clone trooper, or at least freshest, newest favorite. Where he's like, "No, I'm not going to leave. I've got to, I can't leave my brothers. I have to find a way to get through them." And I just was like, "Oh boy,
Mm-hmm.
Hauser, we barely knew ye."
Yep.
And I just
I
knew
never.
Crosshair was going to take a shot right in the chest.
So I knew a lot of people were thinking that he was going to die, but I mean, I was thinking he would stay on. And like in my head, he was being brought in to be another trooper, maybe not part of the Bad Batch, but another one that would be like saved. I mean, this is before we knew that, or at least I felt like he wasn't ever impacted by Order 66. I mean, he's still got to get his chip out. I think he's still a threat because he's got the chip in his head.
Mhm.
But I know a lot of people were on board with, okay, yeah, he's going to bite it in this next episode here.
I mean, this was the scene. I mean,
well, it could have been the scene, yeah, with
Crosshair had him. Yeah. Crosshair had lined up and
in the crosshairs.
And right, and he was a traitor. I mean, so I was really curious that Crosshair told him to arrest, everyone after Hauser makes a speech. But I'm surprised as soon as he started talking, he just gave one right in the head or right in the chest.
So I want to ask you about that, and we'll just jump ahead just quickly and we'll come back. But I'm with you 100%. Like, is there anything in that Crosshair didn't kill him? Because the traitors that didn't want to kill the civilians just a few episodes ago or earlier in the season, I mean, he cold blood shot that guy. And
Right.
At that point, we were thinking, okay, and maybe it was because they had just ramped him up with the juice or whatever, right? And he was still, crazier than normal or whatever. But it was very different for I did not expect Crosshair. One, I thought he was going to take the shot. I didn't think he was going to, especially when he was up there, I was like, okay, well, maybe he is going to die in here. Two, the fact that he didn't kill them or have the clone troopers kill them and just says, just arrest them. He even calls him a traitor, which is damning in itself.
Mm-hmm.
It just seemed out of character to some extent. And so then I thought, well, maybe is he? No, I wouldn't say he's churning, but do you think there's a part of him that felt like, no, that's too much. We don't need to do that.
Right. And when they escape, when he pulls off his helmet, I thought this is the moment where I was like, okay, maybe we're going to see something right here. This would be the time where we would get to see some look of conflict on Crosshair's face that would explain why he did not go through with that.
Mm-hmm.
And we didn't get that moment. We throughout the rest of this episode, I kept waiting for it to be there. And no, Crosshair just keeps digging another, a little bit deeper in the grave here for himself of where this is going. And I really don't have an answer for you. I'm really shocked that he didn't put him down and that he let Hauser get through the speech and especially that there were others that put down their shields. And now, granted, it was only a handful of them, not everybody, maybe like a third or maybe half at most of what they had out there, but enough to still, overpower. They didn't really put up a fight. But I just, I'm confused. I'm a little bit confused by it. I like that Hauser had the, ability to stand up for what he thought was right, but they all kind of threw their weapons down amidst all of this. And I get it. They're probably not ready to fight their brothers, but it was still a little bit interesting. Hey, we're going to rise against, and then we're going to get arrested and be cool with that.
Yeah.
Type of thing. So it was a little bit uneven for me in that space, but it was really great speech. I was hoping to see more from Crosshair, but man, they have really pitted Crosshair as just maybe not the biggest villain, but certainly the most dangerous one of the entire group in the Empire for us right now.
Yeah. Which makes sense.
And they're not letting their foot off the gas on that one at all.
Right. Yeah. Like I said, at the very end of this, that final look that he gives is pretty menacing, right?
Yeah. Creepy.
All right. Well, we're going to talk a lot more about Hauser here in the Patreon episode, so we'll save the rest of those thoughts. We get back to the old Ryloth base, and Hunter turns down the payment, which I thought was, I mean, technically, I guess at this point they didn't need it, so it wasn't that magnanimous of him, but he did turn it down.
Well, he recognized that they were in that position before, and they're going to need everything they can get.
Yeah. Again, another callback to like Solo. right? Han turning down the money, like, or not the money, the what is it called? Coaxium.
The coaxium.
Yeah.
Right.
I almost said the Valorium.
Wow.
Making up words. That's Chancellor Valorium. Okay, no.
Chancellor Valorium.
Chancellor Valorium. Oh boy. Yeah, but he turns down that, and yeah, he says you're gonna need this. You know, he realizes they've got more fights ahead of them. Keep the money, kind of thing. Yeah, and this is that line where Hunter says, like, "Hey, we can't join the fight. I've got my own squad to look after," and he's kind of, you know, and he's right. I mean, he's right.
His own people.
Yeah. It's noble. He's saying the right things. He means the right things, but you know, Alenia's called it. You know, it's whether you want to be in or not. I mean, you're going to get sucked into this. Everybody's going to be a part of it. You can't escape this. Is really the message here, and the message we've seen in a number of other Star Wars stories.
Oh, it's worked all right for cut so far, I suppose.
Okay, unless you're cut and you do it right. I mean, there's probably a right way to do it. If you just say, I don't care, and you're just a nomad and, you know, a pacifist or whatever, and just at all costs avoiding it, then yeah, I mean, I guess you could do that. But you know, what cost, right? You're sacrificing your own personal freedoms and choices and all that. But hey, to each his own. But yeah, there was we got a really quick, I guess, a sweet moment here where Hera calls Omega her co-pilot, which I thought was really cute. I don't think we'll ever see them again together, which would be a really shame, because that was some of the best stuff, is seeing them together on screen.
That was actually our question of the week too. Are we going to see Omega and Hera, when will they meet up again, or how would they meet up again?
Yeah, the answer is no. No, I'm kidding. I don't know.
Wow.
Let me just shut that one down right now. Yeah. No, get over it. We're not seeing it. No, I'm just kidding. I have no idea.
But if you didn't see that out there, you know, look for, we're putting questions out there during the week. So asking something about the episode that just is a bit open-ended, and be great to have some responses on that. So look for those during the week in social media. Yeah,
that's a good plug. Forgot all about that. Hera tells her to watch over her brothers, and she says, thanks, you know, they're going to need it. And her last lines to her, thanks for believing in me. And that's, you know, Omega believing in Hera's ability to fly and to be able to come up with a plan and not giving up. I mean, all that stuff was just instilled a ton of confidence in her that are character. I mean, all of those are characteristics now that we just see, you know, we've seen in Rebels and everything else. So to some extent, you could say, again, it takes a village to raise a child. And it's cool to see that some of what we know Hera to be as an older person likely originated with, you know, this mission and some of the things that Omega instilled in her. And that's kind of what Dave Filoni does, right? I mean, that's part of the world building.
It was good to see the ability of Omega, the things that she wishes others would trust and do with her, and give them that benefit of the doubt. You know, she just blindly trusted Hera with her ability, and trusting her abilities to do it. Dale's making comments about the coffee cup here. It's good that she kind of pays it back, right? Or pays it forward, however you want to, you know, look at that perspective, that she's willing to, you know, let them excel at what they do and trust them to do what they say they can do, because that's what she wants others to do with her. And you know, we talk about leadership qualities. I mean, those are leadership qualities, and she's very young to be exhibiting some of this. Now, granted, it's a lot easier to do when it's one of your peers, you know, when you're both kids and really got nothing to lose at this point. But at the same time, I mean, she's doing unto the others as she would like them to do unto her.
The golden rule.
Yeah. Nicely done, Omega.
Yeah.
Good job, Omega.
Omega. We had that one last final scene here where Rampart says, I underestimated your friends. Duh. Told you that a long time ago. He makes that quick comment about, if they were only fighting for us, which, do you think there's anything laced in that?
Yeah, I think he's prodding at Crosshair a little bit, you know, but I don't know. Crosshair almost like he didn't see it, you know, permission to hunt them down.
Yeah. And he says, granted. So, yeah, I mean, and that's where it ends. I mean, we feel like at this point, with 4 episodes left, I would think the majority of these episodes, if not all of them, are going to be heavily focused on now. I mean, so far it's been about, you know, Omega and the Bad Batch minus Crosshair. We had a little bit of Crosshair way early on, and it's been about Crosshair and the Empire. And it just seems like we're about at the point now where it feels like we need to have Crosshair and the Bad Batch. Like, we need to get that piece of the story resolved, or at least not resolved, but we need to contend with it, right? It needs to be, we need to contend it because it's been going on for so long. We know where each of them stand. We know how things have, all the led up to this point. But the last 4 episodes, if it's super focused on that relationship and the dynamic of it and all that, and resolving that in one way or the other, I think that would be really good. I'd like to see that more than going back to any of the other stuff that we've talked about.
Yeah. So, well, real quick before you say that over everything else, because here's the one thing, everything else that maybe we wanted to see. Do you think that we are going to or need to go back and resolve the clones in Order 66 and kind of the liberation of the clones in this season? Or do you think, nope, 4 episodes need to really focus on Bad Batch and Crosshair, build this up, and then, let it play its course and then finally
Mhm.
resolve that? Or is there a place for these other storylines, even for Hauser or for Rex or any of those things, to still come back in with the greater clone army, or at least pockets of the clone army? Or is that, no, that's all in the periphery now? We've got to have really a fairly single-minded approach for the rest of this season.
No, I would say so. Where I really want this to go is I want the Crosshair redemption arc, and whether he lives or dies. Sadly, it doesn't really. I don't really have a strong preference one way or the other. I think there's great storytelling in both, but I don't think they can get to a redemption arc of some sort without addressing Order 66 and the clones and freeing them. I think I think it's just all entwined, right, in a lot of ways. So I think if they go for a redemption arc, or we go back to the relationship between Crosshair and the rest of the Bad Batch, then I think it's kind of natural that they're going to have to talk about that and address it in some way. And they may not have to address it with all of the other clones that are out there. They may not have to, I'm not looking for a full liberation of the clones this season, but I think there's enough as they're kind of figuring themselves, as they're feeling their way through the relationship between Crosshair and the Bad Batch. There's a way for them to do some world building to allow for something that big to happen in in Clone Wars season 2. And I keep saying that because I still don't know if they've confirmed it. They've never closed the door on it that I'm aware of, but
Right.
So I don't know. I hope I answered the question.
Yeah, there's a lot to it though. I mean, because we've got the whole kind of knowing aspect of it, of what they really want to do with Omega, and that kind of that storyline we've not talked about in a couple of weeks now. Of we need to resolve some of that about what really is their plan with her and with that genetic code, because they're still there.
Yep.
And they still want her. They've not gone away. And also, if we talk about liberation of the clone army, then we've also got to continue to keep in mind it could also be the termination of the clone army.
True.
Because if you presume there was a kill switch for the Jedi, why would there not be a kill switch for the clones?
Mm-hmm.
So it's an interesting one, and again, I thought it was a good moment to pause as we presumably get into this final general arc here for the last few episodes, and whether or not we have it all 4 of these, or if we have another kind of ramp up episode here before we get to a full type of 2 or 3 episode season finale type of feel to things. And that's another thing we haven't heard about. We haven't heard about if the season finale or series finale potentially is going to be an extended episode, or if it's just going to be a normal 23, 24-minute episode. I don't think we've heard that either, have we?
No. I would think they would. Like, Filoni seems to be big on 2-parters, and whether it's 2-parters that are back to back or one long episode, either way, right? I think it's more. I think he likes having that latitude to be able to kind of tell that final story, and we've seen that time and time again with every one of his seasons, whether it be Clone Wars or Rebels or Resistance.
Right.
Well, the one that was in Resistance,
right.
Or 2 technically.
2, yeah. One that we can.
Well, no one really watched season 2, but which is sad. But anyways, yeah. And the other, so just quickly, I want to get your thoughts. Like, what is? And I know we really haven't talked about it, or I haven't thought about it too much myself, so I apologize for kind of springing this on you. But although it's in the show notes, how do you think Crosshair is going to go about this? Like, what is his plan? Like, he said permission, whatever was it granted, right? Yeah. His request was granted, but to what extent? Like, I'm trying to think, like, what does he have to get the Bad Batch to him? I mean, he's not gonna go. I can't see him going out and looking for the Bad Batch. I mean, even the Fennec Shand and Cad Bane and all those guys. I mean, they're not out there, actively looking for the Bad Batch, because they could be anywhere. I mean, it's a big galaxy, it's a big universe. So there's got to be a way for him to bring them to him. I'm trying to wrap my head around how does he go about going after the Bad Batch at this point?
Yeah, that's a really good question because the only the only real way that would be to do that would be to get Omega from them,
Hmm.
right? And somehow
We've already done that.
separate them. Right. And but I mean, yeah, you're right though. He'd have to basically chase them down in order to create that scenario to happen. And so as of right now, I mean, not the only option in my head, the only solution I have is that he's basically going to just use every bit of effort he has. He's no longer distracted from anything else. And maybe if they reuse old, bases or something like that, or I imagine somehow Crosshair is going to tie this back to Sid, is my general guess as to how this is going to go. Somehow he's gonna find out where their home base is, however that is. But that's about the only way this seems to be able to go. And do we end up like a Mandalorian type of thing where they've got to blast their way out of Sid's place
Right.
or have it torched or something like that, or
Mhm.
Mantel? I think something along those lines though is what's going to have to be. Did you have a theory?
No.
I mean, this is
No.
this is
Well,
where we like, okay, is Crosshair really good at hunting people down, right? I guess we're going to figure that out, or if they've got some other piece of intel that we have not told us about yet.
yeah, and I was kind of being snarky about that. I don't. However, as part of my homework between now and the next episode, I do want to go back and kind of just. Well, I'm not going to do a rewatch, but there's got to be a common thread. There's got to be a thread, right? There's a line that leads to them in some way, and it could be something subtle. It may be something. I haven't really put a lot of thought into it. It could be something that came up already, crept up, because this is what Filoni would do, right? He'd throw one thing in there and then go, "Oh, wait a minute. Yep, that makes sense. This is how we could, get back to them." I think
Right.
Sid, that relationship, maybe it's the Jabba thing, or I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's all these. They've touched a lot of they. I say touched a lot of people. It sounds terrible. They've had a lot of contact with a lot of different people, and people know who they are. I think there's a reputation out there, so it may not be that hard to find, but there's got to be a natural way for him to kind of get there. Even in this most recent episode, right? I mean, the fact that Hera has the phone number to call Omega, that signal, Star Wars technology comes into play where he's suddenly able to take that. Maybe he gets it from Hera or steals it, or I don't know, whatever else, or takes that ship and re-engineers it, because the ship crashed and that they used that she called, or maybe it wasn't the ship, was it the base? I don't know. I'm like
Yeah.
trying to figure this out on the fly right now, but
Right.
the point is there's probably something there for him to do it. Otherwise, yeah, he's got to have something. He's got to have leverage in some way to get them to come to him. And I just don't know that he really has a whole lot right now at his disposal.
Right. Yeah.
So,
We'll get a little bit better idea of that here in the next episode, presumably, hopefully.
right. Yep.
But yeah. But good episode. What did you think overall this week?
Oh, no, I liked it. I liked it a lot. I really did enjoy it. Like I said, in my opening comments, I felt like had it been one full episode, I think there wouldn't have been any feedback period from, last week,
Mhm.
but it did benefit us because we got to really dissect it and make a whole show out of it. So from that perspective, I did enjoy it. But I think if you watch this episode, these two back to back, I think this one really kind of helps pay off the first one in a lot of ways.
I agree with you. I think this was definitely the payoff that we were building last week, and I'm very happy that was what happened, and that's how it all transpired. And I liked last week quite a bit. I thought last week's episode was very good, but this really did pick it off. Were you disappointed at all that this is not where we left Cham and Gobi Glee and Eleni? That they didn't leave off in prison, and this is where Hera goes off on her own. That they still happy family, got off world.
Well, it bothers me because it's like, man, now there's even more story there. Because I mean, I thought
Right.
Eleni would die in this one. I was all in on that because like, okay, she's not going to make it out of here, and this will be the only time we see her. But she lived, and so it's like, okay, well, I know she's going to pass before we get to Rebels. So what happened there? So again, it's all Filoni verse, and there's probably some story out there for that.
Right. And all of a sudden, was this even any of Hera's backstory that launches her into where we see her in Rebels? And I think you said it quite well. I think there's elements of it definitely. But with her father and her mother and with Uncle Gobi, it seems like there's less of that now after the resolution of the week prior than there was last week when they were arrested.
Hmm.
So yeah.
Yeah.
We'll have to see it. We'll see if it plays out any other way, or if they come back and revisit these characters. I get with you. Filoni probably wants to tell this story, though. We'll see if we get it in Bad Batch or if we get it somewhere else.
Yep.
But yeah, good episode this week. This was a lot of fun.
It was.
This was really. It was just a fun episode too,
All
and it was
right.
cool getting to see Hera, do her piloting thing.
Well, especially since we got Kanan earlier on in the season.
Right.
So yeah, I almost gave away the title for the next episode. It's out there if you want to know, but it is this one. The next episode, the title is not very telling, but the one after that, get ready for that one. That's just the ramp up there. Okay, all right, we're gonna end it there. Thanks everybody for joining the live show tonight. We had a lot of people here. You want to name them off because I don't have that up right now.
Yeah, Dale, Twan, Chris, Steph. Goodness, who else do we have on there? Trying to scroll back and see it all here. But anyway, lots of great people. Risk Bayless was out there with us early on, so we appreciate everyone coming out. If we missed a name, I apologize. Lots of great conversation going on, anywhere from High Republic to Where Were the Gotals and everything else, and coffee mugs. So encourage everyone to come out. Try to do this every Sunday night. We're on the YouTubes, Twitch, and Facebook. So check us out on Facebook. All the social media, we do lots of links out there, and it's scheduled. So make sure you hit the notification bells, and you will get notified of it. Also, if you'd like to hear the Patreon episode, which we're about to record after this, we're going to go into Hauser, patreon.com/thecantinaCast. This is going to be at the $2 tier. The comic books that Albert and I have reviewed in the last couple of weeks are still at the $2 tier. Those are going to go up to the normal tier here pretty soon. So if you want to get on the ground floor and check those out and just see what they're all about, definitely encourage you to do that. And again, thanks for everyone who's already supported us and who continue to revise what they want to support us with. It's really humbling. We really do appreciate it. You guys take great care of us, and hopefully we're giving you guys content that you enjoy and want to keep coming back for.
Yes. Thank you very, very, very much.
Hey, and yeah, shout out to the people on social media. We've had some really awesome comments, with what their thoughts of the show. I won't say them because that would seem a bit more self-important than we are. But it's really cool to see how much they enjoyed the show and what they think of us. So thank you guys for all the feedback. If you'd like to leave us a review, iTunes is always the one we suggest going to. If you want to leave a 5-star review, that's fantastic. Of course, always come out and find us on Discord, yourgluemedia.com/Discord, and just tag us in Twitter or retweet something. It's awesome to get more people in so we can keep interacting with everyone.
Yeah, I echo everything there. I don't know what else to say at that point.
Ditto.
All right, we're going to get out of here. I'm going to run the credits, and they are updated. So all the new people that we mentioned last week are on here. So we'll see you guys next week for episode 380.
You're still listening? Wow, that's amazing. Well, I'm here to give you the disclaimer. Normally we do a big, long, drawn-out disclaimer thing saying what's what and who's what and all that other stuff, but I think you guys kind of know that Lucasfilm and Disney have no affiliation with us at all, and we have none with them. We talk about Star Wars, which is their property, and all that other good, fun stuff, but I think you can tell which is our stuff and which is their stuff. If you can't, well, then send a lawyer to send an email to me, and I'll be glad to chat with them. Other than that, you know what's what, so that's your disclaimer.